This Wednesday morning, Rose, I'll throw things over to you.
Good morning, and thank you, Evan. I'm here with Tracy Sutton, who's actually a clinical social worker from Heritage Health Clinic in Coeur d'Alene. So the holidays, a happy time. But there's also a lot of pressure to feel happy. So thanks for coming in early this morning to talk to us about this.
Thanks for having me, Rose. I appreciate being here.
Well, we've likely all heard about the suicide of Hollywood stars Robin Williams and Anthony Bourdain. And just this week, two more high-profile deaths, both actually mental health advocates.
If you are worried about how your child is doing, please do not hesitate to call our school.
Again, that's the message given to parents today for students at Springdale Elementary. Rosemarie Beltz, our medical reporter, is on set with us now. It's easier said than done when something like this happens. It's a very delicate balance that parents and grandparents have to take when breaking some sort of news like this to children, right?
Absolutely, JR. And, you know, I have to admit, I'm a little shaken up by this too. So, and I think with this situation, the unfortunate situation is that when a child is sick, it's, you know, answering questions when another child is sick. That's one thing. But when there's a situation like this involved, you know, there's going to be a lot of why.
News 19's Rosemarie Beltz explains to us what we need to know as the flu season gets closer. And I haven't even thought about getting my shot yet, but is it time, Rose?
Yes, it is, Andrea. And so thank you for that introduction, because the influenza viruses, yes, plural, since there's more than one kind of virus, actually circulate all year.
Hi, we are down here at the ice ribbon where Athleta is setting up with preparing some hot chocolate. We got some fire pits going, getting ready for some ice yoga. So I checked in with yoga instructors who teach around the world to see what this means for winter yogis.
News 19's medical correspondent Rosemarie Beltz explains what may look like a cold may actually be something a little bit more serious. Rose, is that right?
Thanks, Alicia. Well, it is a dilemma for parents because lots of viruses can make kids sick. However, pediatricians say there's one that affects kids the most. It's called respiratory syncytial virus, known as RSV. It's so common that most children are infected with it before they turn 1. Almost all have been infected by the time they are 2.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our last hour we talked about mastectomies, and now I'm joined by Dr. Heidi Richardson to talk about what comes next, reconstruction and breast surgery.
Well, you might think men don't have breasts, so how can they get breast cancer? Boys and men's bodies normally don't make much of the breast stimulating hormones the same as women's bodies do. Therefore, their breast tissue usually stays flat and small. But even though men do not develop milk-producing breasts, those cells and tissues can still develop breast cancer. Hot flashes, chills, mood swings, forgetfulness, insomnia, night sweats, irregular periods, slow metabolism, and weight gain. Many of these complaints from midlife women point to menopause. You really have to keep track more of the calories, not so much eat so much of everything and then, you know, everything else falls by the wayside.
Yeah, you want an overall healthy approach to your lifestyle.
Always moderation, folks. Sorry.
All right, Rosemarie, thank you so much.
Do you take your shoes off?
We do take our shoes off, but I would never ask a visitor to take their shoes off.
I don't take my shoes off unless I'm asked to. In my house, you never know what you're going to be stepping in.
No.
So keep your shoes on.
So, before we get to the health...
JR has a dog, in case anybody was wondering.
Which is a valid point, by the way, because I've experienced that myself. As much as we look forward to Friday, the weekend never seems long enough. And once upon a time, the Monday blues got people down. But according to new research, the dread about returning to work has seeped into the weekend.
September is National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and as our medical reporter Rosemarie Beltz explains, the American Cancer Society says ovarian cancer is one of the deadliest cancers affecting the female reproductive system. Rose.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, let's do a quick anatomy lesson first. The ovaries are a pair of almond-sized reproductive glands found on each side of a woman's uterus. Their job is to produce eggs and the female hormones estrogen and progesterone. Now, a definition of ovarian cancer.
First off, serious infections from this amoeba are rare. Officials with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services say this brain-eating amoeba is called Naegleria fowleri. The CDC says the single-celled organism is found around the world in warm, fresh water, like hot springs, lakes, unchlorinated pools, and rivers. The organism infects people by entering the body through the nose. It then travels up the nose to cause a rare and usually fatal brain infection called amoebic meningoencephalitis, or PAM, P-A-M. Most people who get the infection die within a week. However, millions of people are exposed to the amoeba each year, yet only a handful of them ever get sick. Health officials don't know why some people develop infection and others don't. You cannot get infected by drinking water contaminated with Naegleria, and it cannot be spread from one person to another. Individuals can only be infected when contaminated water goes up into the nose. If you're concerned, health officials offer a few suggestions. Avoid swimming or boating in fresh water like hot springs, lakes, ponds, or rivers where the infection is more common. Keep your head out of the water while swimming. Plug your nose or use a nose clip while swimming, and be careful not to stir up sediment in shallow areas. More Friends at 5 after the break.
Have a seat over there. For the next few minutes, we are going to try to attempt to let you know what it feels like to have dementia.
The staff at the lodge gave detailed instruction before beginning the virtual dementia experience.
We are going to alter your physical and your sensory abilities.
Their goal is to put the mental and physical challenges that people with dementia face into sharper focus.
After we garb you up, get on your equipment, we're going to take you across the hall, which we call the experience room.
We're trying to create awareness. We're trying to give people an opportunity to walk in their shoes, because if you walk in their shoes, how much better of a caregiver would you be?
Remove your shoes. Okay. And so we're going to insert these in your shoes, and then I'm going to have you put them back on.
The experience began by being outfitted with accessories and devices that simulate specific aspects of dementia.
Interesting.
Spiked plastic inserts are put in your shoes to mimic what it's like to have neuropathy, or that pins and needles feeling when circulation is cut off from your feet. The gloves cause loss of fine motor skills. They impair mobility and make it difficult to do everyday tasks like buttoning shirts and getting dressed. The glasses simulate macular degeneration and loss of peripheral vision.
I'm going to guide you over to the experience room, and right before I take you in, I'll put on your headphones, okay?
Those headphones restrict and distort hearing and comprehension by filling your ears with loud and distracting noise. Crown was not allowed to bring cameras inside the actual experience room, but a nurse was observing us for behavior and safety the entire time. Once geared up, staff led us to a dimly lit room with flashing lights. Imagine something like a carnival funhouse. Then gave us 5 simple tasks to perform in about 10 minutes. Everyday activities like setting the dinner table, finding and opening your pill bottle, organizing and folding clothes. But I could only remember 3 chores on the list and only completed 1. It took me 8 minutes to belt a pair of pants, and it wasn't easy or fun.
And you know, here was the thing. I was like, it's simple. Why can't I do it? It's simple.
So now you're beating yourself up. You're trying to maneuver out of something that you can't maneuver out of. And you've tried this belt and now it's backwards, and then so they sometimes lash out at their caregivers.
Caregivers fill out a card so that the staff can track and survey your thoughts and feelings before and after the tour, showing just how little most of us understand about dementia. Pat Ferriola thought she had the disease figured out. She took care of her parents, who both had dementia 24 years ago.
I thought that I knew how to deal with this.
Right.
Of course, when you live with it 24/7, it's very different.
Very different than understanding and caring for her husband of 44 years who has dementia now.
He has to be prompted and helped with everything and to get out the door on time, just like when you were getting your kids ready to get the school bus. You think that you know what they're going through, or, you know, that they're losing the day-to-day. Sorry.
It's okay.
But you don't know till you do this. So now my question is, okay, so what can we do to help them?
Until she left her world and stepped into his.
I couldn't see.
Right.
You couldn't concentrate because of the noise that was constantly in your head.
Right.
And it was just frustrating. I mean, I knew, I didn't get the instruction when she told me. I got little pieces of it. You really do have an insight now in to a simple task that you're asking them to do. I couldn't do it.
Right.
No wonder he can't do it. You know, you have a different outlook on it. You know, there's that expression, it's not the dementia patient's not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time.
But many dementia patients don't look sick. Everything seems fine, which makes it hard for caregivers to understand how limited they really are. And that can lead to a cycle of frustration and resentment.
Well, hopefully, I'm going to have more patience, which is something that I hope I have every day. But, you know, when you do it 24/7, your patience runs thin. You try to keep it in check.
And even though Pat leans on 3 different groups for support, they never discussed anything like she experienced today. She is going to encourage doctors and other caregivers to contact the virtual dementia tour, including her own family.
Every caregiver,
thank you,
professional, family member, they need to do this. I mean, this is, what an eye-opener.
Personally, I did not expect for this experience to affect me the way that it did. We know clinically what the disease is capable of, but now we can get an idea of what patients experience 24 hours a day. This population can often be misunderstood and undervalued, and hopefully this program is a way to bridge the gap. Rose Beltz, Creme 2 News.
You really want to protect the frontal lobe of your brain here. It lays right up against the skull.
So does that mean it should definitely be pulled down like this and not sitting up like that?
Exactly.
Okay,
you want it down over the eyebrows, at least, you know, no more than 2 fingers width. I really want to just show a little bit of anatomy so viewers understand like what they're actually looking at. So right here, you can see the head and the neck. So here's what we're typically looking at, and this is what looks, you know, what we look like basically on the inside. The head and neck, a pretty busy supply of arteries that are supplying oxygen to our brain. We have the 4 main ones. We have our 2 carotid arteries, and we have our vertebral arteries.
You hear a thud when your child drops their backpack at the door, and does it feel like it weighs a ton to you? Well, our medical correspondent, Rosemarie Beltz, is here to explain why lightening the load is really important for your little ones. Rose.
Right, Darcy? So all that reading, writing, and arithmetic can add up to some potential pain and problems later in life. The American Association of Neurological Surgeons says 75 to 85% of Americans will experience back pain at some point in their lives. Where there are no long-term studies specifically focused on kids, some children do experience chronic back and neck pain. Experts say pay attention to these signs indicating the backpack could be too heavy.
No.
And Brady, right, it's up to you kids to talk to your parents and let them know, and parents to pay attention if the bag in fact is too heavy. So want to put it this time of year, we have black cats, creepy clowns, dark alleys, just a few things that can scare us and freak us out a little bit. The reality, fear is unavoidable and a survival mechanism for all humans. Fact, we can thank our ancestors for it. This is the thing about heart valve disease, which is interesting. It's common, but it goes underdiagnosed and undertreated according to doctors. And if you have heart valve disease, 50% of those people with valve disease will pass away within a couple of years. So it's very serious. It leads to heart failure.
Very good, Rosemarie. You always leave us with something to think about. We appreciate it.
I'm now thinking about all the things that can go wrong with my heart.
Well, there you go. Grace, anything you want to say before we wrap it up here?
No, that's great. Anything is good. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, bye guys.
So the ice ribbon is a great way to enjoy yoga this time of year. All you seem to need to do is to dress warm in layers and just stay flexible. So we'll be coming up with a Facebook Live to get more behind the scenes. I'm Rose Beltz for Creme 2 News. Namaste.